Hey guys, welcome back to another video. Firstly, thank you to those who are subscribing. That's always appreciated. Thank you to those that actually made comments. That's more so appreciated. If you're enjoying this content, then consider subscribing and sharing this video. So as promised, we're going to be unpacking a little bit more the Panasonic Lumix G9. This time we're going to look at the custom modes that you get on the dial on the top of the camera. And as you experiment and get used to your camera some more, you'll find that these custom modes come in real handy, particularly if you're doing different types of photography. So that's what this video is going to be about. It's going to be unpacking the value proposition around using those custom dial settings. So I'll just run through some very basic scenarios as to when and why you would need to use these custom modes. For example, I shoot in RAW quite often. There's certain instances where I may want to shoot in JPEG and not have those huge RAW files, right? Now I do have the option of flicking the dial to intelligent auto. Yes, that is an option, but as you can see, it stays in RAW. Right, so I want to be able to quickly flick one switch and it'll go into JPEG settings, or even intelligent auto for that matter. So what custom settings allows you to do is group an array of settings in one sort of cluster, save that cluster to one of those assigned switches, either C1, C2 or C3. Now C3 has additional settings, so there's actually 3 in C3, and then you've got the C2 and the C1, and the array of settings is actually quite mind-boggling. It comes down to what type or types of photography you're doing. You could flick it to one switch and it'll be in time-lapse mode. You could flick it to another switch and it'll shoot in black and white using aperture priority or shutter priority, and the list goes on. So the customization around those 3 mode dials is massive. All right, so the best way to, I suppose, demonstrate this is let's just jump onto the camera, onto the G9, and start playing around with the menu, and I'll put together a couple examples of how you can customize these settings. But think of your photography, think of what it is you do, think of your videography and how it is you can customize these buttons. In addition to the mode dial buttons, we've got the function buttons, which I touched on a little bit when we did the front and near, far and near focus. But those two, the customization around the function buttons is massive. So let's just jump onto the camera and have a look how this is actually done. Alright guys, so as you can see, I've got the G9 in front of me over here, and it's currently set to my standard settings, which is manual, standard mode, flashes off. I normally shoot video, full high definition, 25 frames per minute, MP4. Aspect ratio 4.3, I shoot in RAW, blah blah blah. So that's my sort of stock standard settings. But let's just say we want to allocate to those custom dials, which I'll just quickly show you, sits on the top over here. You should be able to see that quite comfortably. Let's just say, for the sake of argument, we want to put some settings on those. So what we want to do is venture to our menu. Okay, and let's just go over to our camera, and let's just say, for the sake of argument, we do a lot of posting to social media, for example, and we take a lot of photos with our camera. We may want to change the aspect ratio quite a bit, so we can go to 1:1, for example, set that. We don't really find it necessary to shoot in RAW. We want to just use the old JPEGs to keep the file size manageable. We like our photo style when we're posting to social media to be a bit more vivid, let's just say, and we don't want to faff around with any filter settings. Metering mode is fine, everything else is okay, so we don't really have to play around. That in its basic form, that's sort of enough settings that we're quite happy with for our social media posting. Once we got the settings, we ventured to our spanner here, and then I think it's the first menu on the top where it has the custom set menu, and as you can see there, it's C1. So all you do is select that one. It's going to say, do you want to override that? Move over to the yes and hit the yes button. So now let's just go out of that menu. We're still on our manual mode as everything was. All I've done is set that. So now we want to go to our dial on the top here, and I might just tilt that down again, and then now we're going to move to our C1, which is what we set it. And as you can see, it shows you on the lefty, we set on C1. We're still in manual mode. It's vivid, which is what the setting was. Look at our aspect ratios changed, and we're now shooting in JPEG. So that is in essence how easy it is to set up a custom menu. Let's just do another one for the sake of argument. So let's go back to our manual mode. Right, I think you have to switch it off, and then when you put it back on again, it should come back into your manual mode. Right, so now we want to allocate maybe a C2 to some other different settings. Once again, we venture into our custom mode, go up to our camera. This time we say, well, we want the aspect ratio to be our normal 4:3. We're happy with that to stay JPEGs. We don't want the photo style to be vivid this time. We want to maybe have it more natural. What else can we select to that? We don't really need to do anything else. So yep, we're quite happy with our settings there. We then venture over back to our fourth tab down at the bottom here, go to our custom set menu, select that, and this time we're going to allocate it to C2, and then scroll over to yes, select it, and then once again it's completed, right? And as you can see, we're back into our manual mode as we were normally, but this time we're going to navigate our dial to C2, and let's see what that looks like. So as you can see with our C2, it shows us on top we were in our C2, we're still in manual mode, we like our natural setting, blah blah blah, and everything else as we've selected. So it is not hard to run through and quickly change by turning one sort of dial, just one dial on here. We can get to these groups of settings. Now there is one other one I'd just like to show you for the sake of demonstration. Over here, as you can see, we've got the C3. So in actual fact, we've got C1, C2, C3, and then 3 settings in C3, which gives us a bit more of a variety. And when you click on C3 and touch that one, you can see here you've got C3 different sort of menus. Now that's very, very handy. Let's just say you do a lot of video work. So all three of those custom modes can be allocated to your different video settings. You might shoot 1920 by 1080 just for your YouTube videos, or you might shoot something in 4K for your website, or you might shoot something in 180p for slow motion. You can cluster that just to be video custom settings, and then your other C1 and C2 on the top here can perhaps be for photos or photography or whatever the case may be. Oops. So that in essence is what the custom mode buttons are. It allows you to customize groups of settings so that you can quickly flip from one group to another rather than having to dive into the menu to go and find these things and change it, because some photographic situations, you may be doing portraits, or you may be out. It requires you to act quickly, so you don't have people waiting around for you to get your camera set up properly. And that's the value proposition. It's around speed. It's around being able to quickly get to batch of settings that's going to make you more productive, and you don't miss the moment. So look, that is a very, very broad overview. I'm going to do another one, especially around video, because I think I'm going to be starting a video series on the G9. And part of that, I think, would be to maybe customize these 3 ones that I spoke about earlier, and just see what benefit we can get if we were to allocate those 3 to video. Once you know what your photographic requirements are, I'm sure you will be able to customize the camera to your heart's content. You can even customize it so that with one flick of the C1, C2 or C3, it can be on time-lapse, timer. I think the choices are far and wide given the customization of this camera. Alright guys, so I hope that gives us sort of a broad overview as to what that custom settings can actually achieve. And as you can see, given the volume of choices in the menu, you can literally design those to do exactly what it is you require. The functionality is pretty amazing, and it does hinge on what it is you're doing. We really need to get to know our camera. We're slowly getting through a large portion of what the G9 has to offer. I'm sure there are lots more things to discover, and I will sort of present them as things unfold. So I hope you got some value out of that video. If you do, please hit the like button and share it. Subscribe if this is the first video. At the end, I normally put some links to some videos that I've done previously, mostly around the Lumix G9 and what that camera has to offer. Also, I've been out on a few field trips using the kit lenses, getting through those quite quickly. There's some big surf heading our way, so I'm hoping to get out to the coast with the 100 to 300 and capture some surfers, which I'm hoping to do as part of next week's video. There's also a surf life-saving competition kicking off next weekend, and there's going to be a lot of action around on the Gold Coast at our local beach here. It's the Lifesaver Surf annual series. I think it's been postponed for the last couple of years because of COVID. So I suspect this year is going to be very, very busy, and hopefully I can capture some nice action shots of these surf lifesavers in action. I'm hoping to get some action of the boats hitting the waves and things like that. So with big surf coming plus this competition coming, it should make for some epic photography opportunities. So be sure to check in, watch that. Like I said, like, subscribe, hit the bell notification, because that video is going to be posted next week with all the settings and bells and whistles. Also hoping to do a little video on using the G9 on sort of night videography and some night photography. So don't worry, the field trips will continue. I'm fast getting through these kit lenses, and then going to need to probably get my first pro lens, which I think I'll start off with a Leica. I think it's the 12 to 60 millimeter, because I've got some real estate things coming up, and I do need a primo lens for that. Look guys, I hope you enjoyed this video. We're going to be unpacking in its entirety everything from aperture to zoom, and make sure that we're proficient with our camera, our settings, and more importantly, the techniques. So have fun, enjoy, and we will no doubt catch up in the next video. Over and out. Cheerio. Bye bye.